Welcome Charter Board members and school leaders. This is the third in a series of 3 mini-courses on preventing audit findings. The 3 mini-courses cover how to prevent findings related to material misstatements, internal control over financial reporting, and legal compliance. The topic of this mini-course is how to prevent audit findings related to legal compliance. Failure to comply with laws and regulations may not only result in a finding, but also result in damages to the school's financial health and reputation. Would you like to review the law and gain ideas for preventing audit findings? Would you like resources shared by another charter school? This mini-course may help you. In this mini-course, you will review the law, gain ideas, test your knowledge, and receive a certificate of completion. When reviewing the law and ideas, think about how you can help your school prevent audit findings. Let's start by reviewing the law. Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.16, Subdivision 1A, states that a charter school is subject to the same financial audits, audit procedures, and audit requirements as a district with a few exceptions. Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.16, Subdivision 1B, specifies that the charter school must submit an audit report to the Commissioner and its authorizer annually by December 31st. The audit report must also include, if applicable, a copy of management and other service agreements as specified in the law, as well as audited financial data of an affiliated building corporation. The audit report must include a report on compliance with laws and regulations. There are several laws that pose challenges for charter schools, and failure to follow them may prevent the school from earning a clean audit report. For example, Minnesota Statutes Section 471.425, Subdivision 2, requires payments of bills within 35 days for charter boards that meet at least once a month. For charter boards that do not meet once a month, payment of bills is required within 45 days after receipt of goods or services or the invoice for them. Failure to pay bills within the required time frame may result in an audit finding. Minnesota Statutes Section 124D.111, Subdivision 3, describes requirements for eliminating a deficit in the food service fund balance by a permanent fund transfer from the general fund. Failure to transfer funds from the general fund to the food service fund to eliminate a deficit may eventually result in a finding and will prevent a school from meeting an indicator of financial health. Minnesota Statutes Section 118A.03 requires a bond or collateral if a charter school plans to make a deposit that results in more money in the bank than what the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation will insure. Failure to plan with the bank for a bond or collateral in the event that the school makes an excessive deposit may result in an audit finding. Auditors examine the board meeting minutes for evidence of compliance with laws and regulations. For example, Minnesota Statutes Section 471.38, Subdivision 1, requires the board to only allow payment claims for which there is an itemized list in writing or an electronic transaction record. Auditors may examine the board meeting minutes and financial statements to verify that the board reviews payment claims and the bank transaction record. Minnesota Statutes Section 118A.02, Subdivision 1, requires designation of one or more financial institutions as a depository of its funds. Auditors may examine the record of votes to verify that the school designated a financial institution as a depository of its funds. Minnesota Statutes Section 471.38, Subdivision 3, requires documentation of annual delegation of authority to make electronic funds transfers to a designated administrator. Auditors may examine the record of votes to verify the annual delegation of authority. To summarize, what are important points to remember when taking action to prevent audit findings due to legal compliance issues? Charter schools are required to submit an audit to the Education Commissioner and Authorizer by December 31st each year. The audit must include a report on compliance with laws and regulations. Auditors examine board meeting minutes and school financials for evidence of compliance with laws and regulations. For example, auditors may verify itemization of payment claims, prompt payment of bills, and collateralization of deposits. What are some ideas that may help prevent audit findings due to problems with legal compliance? Ensure board members receive training on open meeting law and the importance of properly recording votes in board meeting minutes. Remember that board meeting minutes are the official record of board business and may serve as evidence of compliance. Regularly review and complete the Legal Compliance Audit Guide for charter schools from the Office of the State Auditor. Complete training on conflict of interest laws, and at the beginning of each board meeting, have board members verify that they have no conflict with any agenda item, or, if they do, to disclose it. Examine an itemized list of consecutive payment claims and bank transactions for approval at each board meeting, and document the approval in board meeting minutes. Document the running total amount of itemized payment claims and transactions in board meeting minutes to reference from one meeting to the next. Review collateral coverage when completing the bank reconciliation and planning for cash flow. If the school plans to make a large deposit, work with the bank to ensure the money in the account is sufficiently protected by a bond or collateral. Verify that management has a system in place that includes stamping each invoice upon receipt to document the correct date of receipt and improve timely payment of bills. Require reporting from management that accurately forecasts revenues and costs for the food service fund and plan for a transfer of funds if necessary. Use a board calendar to help meet deadlines associated with the audit and plan for required votes, such as the annual delegation of authority to make electronic funds transfers. Following are questions that you may want to ask to help prevent audit findings due to legal compliance issues. What, if any, instances of non-compliance with laws and regulations has the school had in prior years, and how is the school preventing them from reoccurring? If the school makes electronic funds transfers, is the delegation of the authority to do so documented in minutes? What is the board's process to verify that payment claims are made only to those who provide an itemized list in writing or in an electronic transaction record? What is the school's process and what action does the school take to prevent late payment of bills? How does the school verify that there is sufficient collateral before making deposits? And what is the plan in case there is not? Now that you have reviewed the law, learned ideas from other charter boards, and considered questions, let's look at how you can support success. By understanding and supporting legal compliance, you can help prevent audit findings due to failure to follow laws and regulations. By examining a check register and bank transaction record, and verifying payments were made only when claims were supported by an itemized list, you can help the school comply with the law. By understanding laws and regulations, you can help plan for agenda items and minutes that can serve as evidence of compliance. In conclusion, here are some potential next steps. Read the Legal Compliance Audit Guide for Charter Schools, published by the Office of the State Auditor, and Verify that the checklist items are completed. Start preparing for the annual audit early and communicate promptly with the auditor in order to meet the December submission deadline. Ensure management has the expertise and skills to prevent audit findings. Create a system and stamp invoices on dates received to ensure invoices are paid on time. When developing the annual budget, plan for a transfer from the general fund to the food service fund and ensure the transfer is completed as necessary to maintain a positive balance. Examine the check register and bank transactions and ask questions about the specific goods and services the school received if it is not clear. Record votes in the minutes on approving financials, designating the bank, and approving authority to make electronic funds transfers as evidence of compliance with laws and regulations. Review and document the total dollar amount of payment claims and electronic bank transactions approved in the board meeting minutes for reference at the next meeting. Review collateral coverage at the end of each month when completing the bank reconciliation and when planning for cash flow. Analyze all past findings identified in audits and ensure that corrective action plans are in place to prevent any past findings from happening again. Contribute your ideas and tools for complying with laws and regulations to help other charter schools. Information in this video is not intended to address specific questions or issues a particular school may be facing. Charter schools should work with their authorizer, auditor, financial service provider, and advisors, lawyer, and staff to address any specific issues and to obtain additional resources. We hope this information is helpful in preventing audit findings related to compliance with laws and regulations.